Hi. This is my attempt to relate all those haunted and paranormal encounters I personally experienced in the past 40 years. And I hope to illustrate as detailed and accurately as possible according to the actual event. These are absolutely genuine and I kept them until now, to share with everyone. I hope you are ready. Let's begin. Before we begin, please help to subscribe to the channel. It will not cost you anything, but your subscription would meant a lot to me. So please go ahead and click on the subscribe button now. And, please share it with your families, friends, and colleagues on all your social media platforms, so they can enjoy these stories too. Let's continue. In the last episode, the story happened on one of my trips to the Philippines, where I needed to be based there for 6 months. Considering the extended stay, my company arranged for me to stay in a rented apartment instead of a regular hotel. The apartment unit was neat, tidy, and nicely furnished. The room was bright and breezy. You can even see Riston Shopping Mall and Shoe Mart right across the highway. The only setback was the cleaner might have overused on the detergents, making the room smells like a hospital. After a while, I got used to the odor and it didn't bother me anymore. Then I started to unpack my luggage. As soon as I freshened up and changed into a more casual clothes, I went across the highway for my late lunch. And after lunch, I went walking aimlessly around. Then it was more food. Then I went to Paranormal for some seafood. It was dinner time by then. After dinner, I went back to my apartment and take a shower. Around 10 I was deep asleep. The environment was cool, quiet, and peaceful. I slept like a child all the way till dawn. Philippine sunrise is pretty early at around 6 in the morning, especially for people staying in the city and needing to work outside the city. Everyone will try to get up and out early to beat the traffic. When my watch alarm clock rang, it was quite bright in my room since I left the curtain wide open. It's already 7 and I knew I am slightly late. And I knew I made a mess in my room because I was rushing to get ready. My things were lying over everywhere on the floor and on the bed. But I have no time to tidy up. I went straight out, thinking I will tidy up tonight when I get back. Traffic has already built up by the time I got out. Everyone was heading out of the city. There wasn't any highway to those industrial areas back then. Getting there was slow and packed, and the environment was hot, humid, and dusty. The journey to my earliest destination was about 2 to 3 hours, and my appointments were packed. My meetings were back to back. Customers are not far away from each other, and the routine was going around Cavite, Laguna, Santa Rosa, and Cabuyao. Everyone who lived in Manila will try to knock off before 5:30 so that they can get out of the industrial park before the traffic starts to build up, in order to get back in time for dinner. When we get near Manila, the traffic will start to build up again. A 5-lane traffic will try to squeeze into a 3-lane highway. So usually for bachelors like me, we will stop by Paranormal or just before entering Makati for our dinner, as the dark starts to set in. One of my favorite Filipino dishes was crispy pata, especially when you are drinking ice cold beer. My favorite beer was San Miguel. And we usually drink some beers before we go off.
Cheers!
By the time I get back to my apartment, it's usually around 10 plus in the evening. When I get back, the room was neat and tidy again. And you can smell the odor of the detergent alcohol again. Philippines is usually hot and humid, but the room was cool and breezy. To my surprise, my bed was neatly made and my luggage was neatly packed and stowed. I remember my bedroom was in a mess that morning when I left for work, and I intend to tidy up when I got back. I thought the housekeeping must have helped to tidy up for me. So, I didn't suspect anything strange and went immediately to bed after I bathed. Every day, I went through the same routine: wake up in the morning, go to work, stuck in the traffic, meet my customers, stuck in the traffic on the way back, take my dinner, come back to my apartment, wash up and go to bed, day in and day out. No matter how messy I left the room will be tidy up by the time I went back. And all the while when I stayed there, I was thinking that the only setback was the cleaner uses too much detergent to clean the house, making the whole place smells like a hospital. Then one day, I noticed my bedsheet was starting to turn yellow. I am worried that the housekeeper only makes the bed but didn't change the bedsheet. Therefore I decided to remove the bedsheet and try to send it for laundry. After finding out that most of the laundry shops were always closed during the weekend, and they usually don't open very early on the weekday and knock off before 7 p.m., I decided to call my office to arrange the housekeeping to change my bedsheet instead. Then my office tells me that they did not arrange for any housekeeping all this while, and I am supposed to do my own laundry using the washing machine provided. Immediately goosebumps and hairs raised all over my body. At that instant, I immediately asked my office to book me a hotel, and I packed up my luggage and left the apartment. When I am downstairs waiting for my transport, I asked some of the security guards do they know what happened to the apartment I stayed. They told me that the previous occupant was a pretty young lady, who took her life drinking Dettol because of some love affair scandals. However, she was always nice to everyone and known to be very neat and hygienic conscious. Now I knew why I kept smelling that odor. It was actually Dettol. She must be around in the apartment with me all the time. And she must be the one that helps me to tidy up the place and make my bed. Ghosts were once human. They linger around aimlessly because they lost the purpose in their life when they died. They don't need to eat, they don't need money, and they can only think of their loved ones, but their loved ones cannot see them. And certainly, they do not want to scare their loved ones. So very often you may see some of them doing what they like to do when they are still alive. If you have any experience you would like to share, please feel free to share it in the comments area below. If you like the content of this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you will be informed immediately whenever I upload my next video. Let's continue. Different vocations have different challenges, some may be glamorous and some may be admirable. Regardless of status or income, we should always respect the other person's job, because sometimes there must be someone have to do the dirty job. There was once I have to be stationed in Bangkok for a year. Back then it was my first few trips as a service engineer. My company arranged my stay in a local 3-star hotel, although the amenities were kind of old, but it was located right in the middle of the city, on the busiest part of Sukhumvit Road. Back then, there was no sky train or subway yet. Traveling within the city is either taking the tuk-tuk, hitching a ride on a motorcycle, taking the bus, or hailing a cab. Outside the city, you will have to take a train, take a plane, or book a limousine. At that time, there were no mobile phones or laptops, so sending messages was done either by fax or using the mobile pager. The mobile pager was a bulky piece of device where the operator will send the message to you based on the caller's request. So, when my Thai pager rang, I always have to find someone to translate the message for me. That day was a Friday afternoon when I received the pager message. A customer in Lot Prau need my help to rectify a problem with a machine, so I hailed a taxi and headed over. As usual, I need to report to the guard house to register and call the engineer to escort me to their production floor. Then, they will escort me into the production area where we cut through the production floor towards the newer production area. Not long after, the bell rang for their shift change. Then I was told that the following 2 days are their public holidays, and the factory will be shut down until Monday morning. That's why everyone was rushing to finish their jobs that day before the holiday. The workers started to leave one by one after they were done, leaving me and the engineer in the entire building. The engineer grew a bit impatient, and I suspect he was rushing off for something. By then it was already 7 p.m. when I told him that I am done and that I will need a little bit more time to pack up, and I suggested that he can leave now and let me lock up the place for him. He happily agreed and left without a second word. Then all the lights were shut off, leaving only those lights around me. I assumed that the engineer turned them off on his way out. After the engineer left, I perform a final check before I pack up. I was all alone in the entire building this time. Finally, as I was leaving the room, and heading towards the light switches near the exit door, all the lights went off, leaving only the lights from the corridor and the exit door sign. I thought it must be the security guard turned them off remotely while overseeing me through the CCTV monitor. So, I slowly find my way back to the guard house to return my visitor pass. There were only 2 guards on duty that night. When the guard asked if I have helped them to switch off all the lights, I told them I thought they shut it off remotely. And they do not have any surveillance cameras in that new production area, not to mention any remote lighting control capabilities. So, I had no choice but to go back and countercheck if the lights were actually shut off. However, I requested that one of them accompany me to do so. My experience tells me that something was not usual. Those lights turning off by itself definitely was fishy, which was why I requested one of the guard to accompany me. To my surprise, when we arrived at the production floor, all the lights were lighted up, and I am very certain that all the lights were off when I left this place earlier. As we shut off the lights one by one, we notice a dark shadow standing at the back of the room. We thought it was some sort of reflection. However, it seems like the shadow was waving at us after we shut off all the lights. Then the security guard shined his torchlight at the dark shadow, but the apparition disappeared into thin air. The security guard then tried to call the other security guard over the walkie-talkie. However, there are no response, only sound of static.
Breaker 40 coming over. Breaker 40 coming over.
The brave security guard had no choice but to look around using his torchlight. After confirming nobody was hiding anywhere, he decided to call his buddy again using his walkie-talkie. After ensuring all the lights were definitely shut off, we left the production floor immediately. Although the security guard tried very hard to conceal his fear in front of me, I can feel that he was extremely petrified deep inside. The light of the torch light gave away his real emotion as his hand was trembling seriously. Finally, we arrived at the guard house. His colleague was surprised to see the security guard turn pale and sweating profoundly as the man tried to explain what happened just now. I was so scared to go back to my hotel room that night, so I asked if they knew any temple that was still open so late at night in Bangkok. So, they hand me an address to show the driver. However, I had no luck hailing a cab that night. I ended up grabbing a tuk-tuk. I didn't know where I was going, and I thought the temple might be closing soon. Therefore, I promised to pay the driver 3 times the fare if he can get there within 30 minutes. The driver was speeding with all his power that night. Finally, we came to a stop and the driver pointed me the direction. It is the infamous 4-faced Buddha, located at Erawan near Ceylon. After all the prayers and offerings, I felt calmer and better, as I started to grab something to eat for my dinner nearby. Very soon I was back in my hotel. Around my hotel were very busy and crowded. I felt even calm and almost forgotten what happened earlier. And I visited more temples during the weekend. On Monday, I went back to the customer during the day to follow up on the service status of those machines. I told the engineer the incident that night and he was shocked to hear what happened. He said now he knew why that 2 security guards chose to quit immediately the next day. Soon the incident was escalated up to their management, and they believed the ghost was their old worker who died from heart attack during work. They hired some Taoist priest and perform a very grand rituals to bless the place. Since then it had been peaceful and no one have seen the dark shadow again. So far all the apparitions I shared still at a far distance, at least arm length away, but what if they were up close next to your face? Can you still manage to stay calm? Can you still pretend that you didn't see them? Do you want to know what happened? Tuned in to my next episode. Can you see me? If you like the content of this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you will be informed immediately whenever I uploaded my next video.